There you go. The September 6, 2023 meeting of the Planning Commission will come to order at 6:31. Please rise and follow myself to the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. May we please call roll?
Commissioner Duarte,
Present.
Commissioner Guerra,
Here.
Vice Chair Uva,
Here.
Chair Ortiz.
Present. This is the time to set aside for oral communications from the Planning Commission. Do any commissioners wish to make an announcement or report on a conference or a meeting or request items for a future agenda item? Vice Chair Uva,
None for me.
Commissioner Duarte,
None for me.
Commissioner Guerra,
None for me.
and I have none. Does the Community Development Director have any updates for tonight?
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any updates today. Thank you.
It's gonna be an easy meeting today. We're moving us on to non-agenda public comment. Persons who wish to address the Planning Commission on city business not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Persons wishing to address the Planning Commission on any item listed on the agenda other than a public hearing items may do so at this time. Persons wishing to address the public hearing items shall do so at the time of public hearing. It is requested but not required that you state your name, address, and subject matter upon which you speak. Please limit your comments to no more than 4 minutes. Pursuant to the Brown Act, no discussions or actions other than a brief response, referral to the city planning staff, or scheduled to a subsequent agenda shall be taken by the Planning Commission on any issues brought forth that is not listed on the agenda. The public hearing is now open. Non-agenda.
It is now. I just find it amazing that there's no comment or report on city council actions with what's been going on lately. Why don't you just say we just brought our rubber stamp with us and we'll do whatever it takes. Maybe if we get tired with one arm, we'll just switch to the other one and stamp with the left arm. Okay, I think it's disappointing that even the Planning Commission, along with the City Council, is approving road street closures for permits and using city in-kind assets. And it needs to stop. It's not your purview of what's supposed to be going on with you or the City Council. People can party all they want privately, but not use of city funds or any of the assets. I don't know why it's approved by the Planning Commission and the City Council for street closures for the International Food and Music Festival. There's absolutely no reason for Downey to be hosting anything like that. And then we have Havana Nights coming up. I don't know how many thousands of dollars we're gonna spend on that. We've had the gay pride thing. That has done nothing to enhance the city of Downey and make it better. Supporting the activities of pure perversion and debauchery and child grooming that goes on with any of these activities. That's all it's for. There's nothing beneficial in the city of Downey to watch a 40-year-old man dress up as a woman on a stage and twerk away and say that's family friendly. There's nothing family friendly about that unless it's some kind of perverted family that you're approving of. It has nothing to do with a traditional family, and that's not what Downey's about. So let's knock off all the approval of these permits that do not put American values first, and we start adhering to the oath of allegiance that has been mentioned previously in this chamber. Thank you very much.
Seeing that there's no more speakers, we're gonna close non-agenda public comment. Seeing that we have no consent calendar or other business, we're going to open public hearing for conditional use permit PLN-23-0089. Does the staff have proof of publication?
Yes.
I need to make an announcement that I need to recuse myself from this hearing as I own a rental property at 11410 Dolan Avenue.
There's time for you to go get Portos for us.
Will the Community Development Director introduce staff making the presentation for tonight?
Thank you, Chair. Tonight we have Alfonso, our principal planner, making the presentation on the item.
Good evening, Chair Ortiz, Planning Commissioners. Tonight you'll be considering a conditional use permit to allow valet services at the existing Diosa restaurant. The applicant is Rahim Abazi. This is an aerial of the commercial center outlined in red. It is located at 8432 Firestone Boulevard, close to the southeast intersection of Firestone Boulevard and Dolan Avenue. Here's a segment of the city's zoning map. The property is found within the city's downtown Downey specific plan. The properties to the north, east, and west are also zoned downtown Downey and developed with commercial uses. To the south are hospital medical arts zone properties developed with a medical office, a nursing home, and senior housing. Here's an image of the front of the restaurant. The building was recently renovated and opened in February of this year. The restaurant is part of a larger commercial center. It is comprised of 3 separate lots and make up a total of roughly 3 acres. The restaurant parcel is 46,189 square feet. The building size for the restaurant is 9,598 square feet. And again, there are 4 tenant spaces. So in total, the tenant spaces make up 29,546 square feet. At the bottom of the screen is a parking breakdown for all tenant spaces. In total, they operate with 59 parking spaces on site, but they're required 96 per our code. This allows the site to function with 63 excess spaces. Here is the site plan. It's a bit difficult to see on the screen, but to orientate everybody, to the top of the screen is Firestone Boulevard and to the left is Dolan Avenue. And as I mentioned, it's a CUP for valet parking. Spaces outlined in red are the locations of the spaces used for valet. These spaces in blue are ADA spaces, which will not be affected by this application. And lastly, the spaces in green are the non-valet spaces. It's important to note that not shown on the screen are also spaces that are part of this project. An extra 49 spaces are located in front of the CVS building, which if you follow me on the right side projector, it's right here, right at the bottom of the D. I should also note that the valet services are an added amenity to the restaurant rather than an effort to meet the zoning code. Patrons will have the opportunity to both valet and South Park. The valet operations will include 44 parking spaces for valet. 3 employees will operate the valet, and there will be 1 kiosk on site. This means that there's 115 spaces left over for South parking. Regarding current operations, there is no proposed changes to the seating capacity or the floor area for the restaurant. The hours of operation are at the top of the screen, and the hours of operation for the valet are at the top of the screen. The hours of operation for the restaurant are at the bottom. You may notice that they're a bit different. At the request of the applicant, the valet services are a bit expanded than their current restaurant hours, and this is just in case they decide to change the hours in the future for the restaurant. So they can still accommodate the valet without having to seek additional approvals. The Development Review Committee met to discuss concerns or issues related to building and safety, fire, public works, and police. No department expressed concerns over this project. From a planning perspective, a condition has been added, that's condition number 14 in your packets, that identifies and limits the valet spaces on the plans. and prohibits them from the valet to park vehicles in adjacent streets, on other private property, or in city parking lots. In conclusion, it is staff's opinion that all findings can be made in a positive manner, and with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Does any planning commissioners have any questions to staff? Commissioner Guerra.
Thank you. My only question, it seems to be ample parking there even after this. The CVS parking, I mean, CVS being closed down, so obviously it's not an issue now, but will that hinder the possibility of getting a new prospective tenant in there? And that's my first question.
The thoughts are no. So even with the valet parking, they still have 115 extra spaces. In total, of the tenant spaces, they need 96. So even after the valet taking that from the side, they'll still have excess spaces to accommodate other uses.
So, and this is just for informational purposes without, you don't have to get into details, but is somebody working on that CVS location right now? Is there a potential tenant?
I can answer that question. We've had some general inquiries about tenants, but nothing specific.
Okay.
We've just provided some code guidance, and if we have a specific tenant, we can share that. But right now, we don't.
Is it too small for the Trader Joe's? Is there enough parking for it?
I like
Or
your
the
mindset.
Sprouts? Anyways, thank you. Okay, so thank you. There seems to be plenty of space, parking space, even with the valet there, from what I can see, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Commissioner Duarte.
No, Mr. Guerra, he answered, that was my question about the CVS not being there, and that affected the actual parking spaces, but I guess it doesn't, so no questions.
And I just have a general question of, I know there's other businesses that have valet, but I've never seen them come in front of us for approval for valet. This is my first, meeting for a valet purpose for a business. I find it, I'm trying to find a better term to say, but we should have better time on our hands for valet purposes, but I just want a little understanding as to why a business has to come in here for valet.
Sure. I think this business is unique in the sense that they have an excess amount of parking. Other businesses that we have had, they're typically medical businesses that need the valet to accommodate their parking, so they don't have enough space. So they'll be able to stack or tandem parking and at times we want to mitigate them from parking off-site. So we bring it to the Planning Commission to try to iron out those conditions of approval so they stick to those. But I would say when researching our other ones, the ones that we have approved, we have about 6 others, and only 2 are for restaurants. The others are for medical buildings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you. That's my only question I have for today. Oh,
Can I ask one quick question on there? So I see the hours are not till later on for the valet services. You have the sushi place next door? Is that, but I don't know what time they close, but did they voice any concern with this or there's 3 other tenants in that building? Any other concerns from them?
No, not that we received. And during the public noticing process, we didn't receive any comments from those tenants.
Good, thank you.
thank you.
Of course.
Before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or his or her representative, this will be the time for the planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visits or pre-hearing discussions that the commissioners may have had about the project. Commissioner Guerra.
No, I think that, first of all, that restaurant is beautiful. They've done a beautiful job of investing in our city, and we thank you for that. It's probably, without by far, one of the nicest, if not the nicest restaurant that we have in the city. So thank you for being in our community and investing in our community. I think this is needed, and I'm happy for them if they want. Doesn't seem to bother any other neighbors there, and I'm good with this.
Commissioner Duarte.
No disclosures for me.
No, not just a patron in there, so thank you. The public hearing is now open. Will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward to give testimony tonight?
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Charles Johnson. I'm the president and COO of Pearl West Restaurant Group, which is the parent company that owns Diosa Restaurant. This is our first location outside of our home base of Pacific Northwest. I am a Southern California resident, born and raised. Completely zeroed in on Downey as an opportunity for our concept because the population, the demographics, the values of what Downey provides was perfect for what we wanted. We also wanted to bring in an elevated concept into our company. We have other concepts underneath our umbrella that are most like other restaurants in Downey, so that's why we decided to go with Diosa, which is an elevated seafood coastal Mexican restaurant with a celebratory nature, which also enhances the guest experience with valet. So that's why we wanted to present this today for valet services for our guests. They have asked for it, and we're happy to oblige. We found a great partner that runs valet services. They are fantastic about accommodating the other tenants' needs, expectations, concerns, and so we're excited about getting a valet service up and running.
Thank you. Did any commissioners have questions of the representative? Commissioner Duarte?
No questions.
Commissioner Guerra?
I have no questions. Again, thank you for choosing Downey. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And I share the same sentiments. My family owns a Pescador restaurant, so
Okay, fantastic.
great restaurant that you have, great concept. All our family loves it, so thank you so much.
I probably spent thousands of dollars doing research in the Pescador restaurants, from the local ones all the way up to I can't remember, West Covina. I think there's
West Covina,
more.
yeah.
Yeah. So I've dined in all your restaurants just to understand how what Downey might need, and we love your restaurants.
Oh, thank you so much.
Are you now going to get the smoked guacamole like they do?
I'm going to do the table set presentation for
We
you.
exchange ideas, so thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
May the staff confirm if there have been any correspondence in favor or oppositions?
There have been 2 correspondents. They're attached to your packets as Exhibit D, but in summary, on one of the letters is in opposition and the other shares concerns. Again, in summary, they're concerns regarding reduced parking for the street on Dolan, for street parking on Dolan. The other is added traffic. There's others concerns with 911 call services because of added traffic, potential added traffic. And the other is increased loitering due to a number of restaurants opening up.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of the application?
A nice fancy restaurant, a lot of money went into it, a lot of work. But is valet parking necessary? No, not at all. You're going to have a lot of issues, as mentioned on page 16. We're going to have the nudie bar, Ojos Locos, open up. We're going to have a lot of spill out from that. But why should we reserve 44 spaces for Diosa Restaurant? I mean, it doesn't represent Downey values. There are people trying to usurp Downey values that are bringing certain things into this town, specifically on the city council, that do not represent Downey values. And it's time we start speaking up, and it's time we start controlling the narrative and not letting the narrative railroad us. I want to specifically look at the terms full-service restaurant and ancillary. Now, when you think of a full-service restaurant, is valet parking necessary for a restaurant where you're going to be sitting at a table inside, you're going to have staff take your order, you're going to have cooks cook the food, and you're going to have staff deliver the foods as well? Is valet parking necessary for that? Does it enhance that? No, it doesn't. Not at all. Ancillary, when you talk about ancillary, you're talking about subsidiary type of activity, aside from the primary activity. Another example of ancillary would be surgery, and then you have drugs that aid in the healing. So you may need to keep taking some medications for your surgery that you've had. Is valet parking going to enhance the health of the restaurant? The answer is no. It's not going to help the staff serving you. It's not going to help the staff taking your order. Not at all. Ancillary is subordinate, subsidiary, and secondary in nature. If you're sitting in a restaurant, a full-service restaurant, there is no need to reserve 44 spaces for a restaurant for valet parking. It's first come, first serve, and it seems to be plenty of parking now, especially as CVS is empty. But there is going to be also PAH, which is probably going to build something on the property that they own there. So these things are not necessary. However, thanks for coming to Downey. I hope the restaurant does well, but it's completely unnecessary to have valet parking for this establishment. Thank you.
Does the applicant care for a rebuttal?
Thank you. Thank you for that. My rebuttal is only to draw on my experience as a restaurant operator for the last 35 years and working in different versions of restaurants that are going from fast casual to full service to high end to different expectations. We get requests quite a bit. We have many guests that are regulars that come and spend large sums of money in our restaurant, and we appreciate that. And we aim to deliver on that value. And this is one more piece of value that we want to add to the guest experience. So we don't have people walking across a very large parking lot dressed for a night on the town, and obviously that incorporates women with large heels. I mean, this is what our restaurant is. And being able to have our customers arrive at the very front of the restaurant, be able to walk 15 paces into our restaurant and start to enjoy their experience where they're about to pay a premium. And I will obviously say that honestly, it's a premium experience. And along with premium experience becomes the amenities of valet, also security. We're one of the few restaurants that do offer that. We send the message that this is the place where we want people to have a great experience, be safe, and be able to return and plan their next visit, plan their quinceañeras, plan their visits, plan their bachelorette parties, plan all those things, and be able to have that amenity right at our front door. Thank you.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. It is now time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Commissioner Duarte?
No questions. I think everybody's mentioned a great restaurant that's come into our city. It's really nice. I think it's added a lot to the city. So I support this motion, this hearing.
Commissioner Guerra?
So I just want to make it clear, so this is private property, correct? The city doesn't own the parking lot.
Correct, it's all private property.
So it's private property, so the developer and the owner, property owners brought them in and are working with that. So, no, I agree with Commissioner Duarte. I think valet is an enhanced experience for an elevated experience. I think the price point that they have is definitely an elevated experience, and it should be. And so this does add to it. I personally enjoy going to a nice restaurant that I'm going to spend a lot of money on and do valet parking, especially in that situation. And I do think it's a safety thing. I think it's great to have people out there. I think everybody feels safer when you have valets helping out, but you also have the security. So I'm all in favor of this, and I'll second the motion on there, if you will.
So do we have I also want to share the same sentiment. Thank you so much for coming to our city, and I really appreciate the elevated experience that you have as a restaurateur. To another one, thank you so much. So what is the pleasure of the Planning Commission? May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion
We
to,
already did.
yeah.
First and then a second.
Yes, sir.
All right, may we please have a vote?
We're sorry, we got ahead of you, Mr. Chairman. Apologize.
The motion passes 3-0 with Commissioner Uva excused.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just have one question of staff. First, not this.
Oh, let me call.
Was that? Oh, yeah, of course.
She back on board?
Yeah, did she bring us back? You know, the last lawyer used to bring us, that's before your time, but the last lawyer used to bring us portals. She's new. Well, you're both new, but you're in. So, can I ask a question of staff? Sir, I don't know if this is the right time or not. It's a planning commission question. On there. So, I was at a business the other day that just built a brand-new restaurant here and so forth, and I guess the city made them put natural stone on its facade. And they said that was something that they didn't want to do, and they kept doing it, you know, the city insisted on it. So I assume, I mean, it looks beautiful now, too. I assume that that's a city code that, I just thought that was kind of interesting wording. Yeah, you don't need an answer now, I'm just kind of curious. Natural stone when you build something new now? It needs to be,
Through the chair, I can address that question generally. The city does have a site plan design review process that we do evaluate the merits of the design of the building, which includes exterior materials. There are times where we're looking at the different types of materials, the longevity of them, how long they weather up to the weather that we have. So without knowing the specifics, maybe I can discuss the specifics of that site, but we do evaluate the types of materials, the makers of the materials, and often ask for samples. So it could have been that we looked at different samples and one of them was natural and one of them wasn't. But again, I'm more than happy to discuss the merits of any specific case with you.
I was just curious if that was a general, it was stucco. They put it in there, it was stucco, and the building looked nice with the stucco on there, and it was brand new. But anyways, yeah, we'll talk later. Thank you.
Oh, and I do have one other question, mostly an update. I know myself and Commissioner Guerra, we discussed possibly if we can have staff changing the code for applications that are like every so often, they come to us every year, that they don't necessarily need a vote from us, that it can be just voted by staff. Is there any update on that?
Yes, so I've been here a few weeks now as the Community Development Director, and that is definitely one of my top items. We actually right now staff had been collecting before I arrived and continue collecting items of where we can streamline some reviews, some items that maybe are more appropriate at the staff level, some that would continue to be Planning Commission, or just seeing if that's still relevant. So we do plan to bring probably about a dozen or so proposed code amendments, probably before the end of the year. And we will be looking at some of those items. So that's currently in progress.
That's great. I think, and I think what we were looking at was the ones that were the normal one, you know, the closing, the Downey Chamber Christmas Parade, the Greek Festival. If they've been going on for years, you know, leave us alone. You guys should handle that. If it's a brand new one, right, that's gonna, you know, have fireworks, that's, okay, let's talk about it. But yeah, you guys figure out the code things you guys need to look at, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does the Community Development Director have any additional comments for tonight?
I don't, but thank you for those good questions. Appreciate it.
How's your first couple months? Come on, what do you?
It's been great.
Okay.
Staff has been great. I've been really amazed that they have been so dedicated in running the Planning Commission meetings. Maybe as another update, we are looking at the recruitment for a planning secretary to have additional support for staff, and we can kind of go back to the way things were done maybe a while back and get some additional admin support.
Good,
Great.
great.
Yes. Well, meeting adjourned.